Good morning, folks. Hi, Phil McPhail here with United Country Lifestyle Properties in Maine. Have you been searching for an affordable piece of forest land up here in Maine and finding it very difficult to locate such a property? Well, today you want to stick around. We're going to look at a 44.8 acre lot that could be a great place for a timber investment, for a hunting property, your little off-grid getaway cabin, or maybe an off-grid homestead if you're so inclined. Stick around. We're going to show you some nice timberland later in the video, some waterfront features on the property. Let's go look at it together today. We are at 26, or lot 26, Wolf Run Trail in the town of Greenbush. Greenbush is a town of about 1,444 people according to the last census that was taken. We're about 21 miles to the nearest city of Old Town, 28 miles to the city of Bangor and the international airport. There's lots of things to do in those cities, from fine dining to concert series, a casino, waterfront access to the Penobscot River, beautiful part of Maine. Boston's about 260 miles from here, and that's about a 4-hour and 15-minute ride over mostly I-95 until you get to the Old Town area. Hey, before we get going on the land, don't forget, like this video, please share it with your friends. Hit that subscription button down at the bottom and put on all notifications. That way you won't miss our next video. And while I'm here talking about our channel, if you have questions about real estate, check out our Ask Lifestyle Properties series that we've started, answering our viewers' questions about Maine real estate, Maine lifestyles, rules, regulations, and all the stuff that a lot of you wouldn't know about. I wanted to offer a tip on looking at property up here in the North Woods of Maine. We're not in an urban area. We're in a very remote area, lots of woods. And a lot of my customers come up here, they try to look at the land without me or another agent, and they're out looking at forest land with their smartphone GPS. That can be a big problem for you if you lose your phone, or if your phone battery dies, or you get a weak GPS signal. Bring yourself a compass, and if you don't know how to use it, you can take a quick refresher online, but this is a dependable piece of equipment. I don't leave home without it, folks. I don't wander out in the woods with my customers without it. So, you know, as much time as I spend in the woods, I get turned around, and if you're not used to it, you are going to get lost out here, and we don't want that. So, real estate tip, don't forget your map compass before you head out into the woods. As you get in here, you're going to see some orange ribbon on both sides of the road. There's a painted orange line. This is the northern boundary line, and if you ask us, we'll send you the interactive map that we have that you can load up on your smartphone and use the GPS function. It will get you here. So don't forget to ask for that if you're really serious about buying this property. The other end of the property, on the south end, as you drive through it, you're coming in from the north to the south. You will not find a boundary there. We're going to take a trip to the east. We're going to walk through the woods here for nearly half a mile until we come to Otterbrook. As we get off of the edge of Wolf Run Trail, we start in here. What we're seeing is a mix. We got spruce fir, we got some pretty good sized poplar in here, a lot of white birch, and some red maple growing along the trails that we're following, getting through here. This, like I said, is, you know, most of these trees are early, 30, 40 years. They're anywhere from 25 to 40 feet tall. They're not real big, but they're certainly more wood than you'll ever need for firewood. And I think if you pick the right pine and spruce and fir in here, you could probably mill yourself out a decent little cabin. Okay, folks, we're coming in now. We're about 500 feet in on the northern line from Wolf Run Trail, heading easterly. And what we've seen is some pretty nice poplar in here. There's some 10 to 12 inch in diameter poplar that are 40, 50 feet tall. Some bigger birch in here now. We're seeing some nice maple, great firewood, you know, maple syrup producing sap wood. What you're going to notice, it's a real pleasure to walk through here. The harvest that was done was so long ago, most of the stumps have rotted down, and you're going to walk through some middle-aged forest. It's growing, it's kind of open in these trails. A little bit of cleaning, you have an awesome shot at walking through the property. We're in here about 1,500 feet now, and we still have blazed orange line. We've been wandering in and off the line as we've gone down through here. So this will be the last time I stop. I can see the boundary line is clearly brushed out and painted out ahead of us. We're going to follow this, see if we can find Otterbrook. So stick around. We're going to wander through the woods here a little further and see if we can find that brook for you. We're back here. We finally made it to Otter Brook. It is a small brook. I'm standing on a really old beaver dam here that's actually grassed itself in. I don't think the beaver are active in here at all right now. I don't see any beaver house in sight. One big boulder out in the middle. Maybe a nice spot to set up a duck blind. Certainly hunt the edges here for deer and black bear. And if you get lucky, get a moose tag in this zone. We've seen a lot of moose sign as we've wandered through here. So we're at the far eastern side of the property now. The back of the lot comes right out across the stream a little bit. We're gonna zigzag our way back up through the gut of this lot and show you a little bit more, and then we'll get back up to the truck and the building site, and we'll talk about the particulars as far as price and taxes and all the good stuff. So let's go do it. But I wanted to point out what a great hunting opportunity this is, and apparently I'm not the only one who knows that. There's a climber in here right near the property line, and it's located right along the edge of the transition from the open wetlands around the brook and the forest land behind it. So great spot to set up a little blind here, a small tree stand climber like this. We've had a great mushroom year this year, folks. I wish I knew my mushrooms. We just stumbled upon these, and I was watching one of Rick Terio's videos this week, and he found some amazing mushrooms on the lots that he's been looking at. Anybody know what these are? Put it in the comment below. I think they may be called trumpets, but I'm not sure, and I would never eat a mushroom that someone else that didn't know what they were doing picked for me. But I'm more of a fisherman and a hunter than a forager, so we're gonna keep going. If you know what these are, please leave it in the comments down below. We've come back from the edge of the wetland there where the Otter Brook runs through, couple hundred feet back in the woods. And what I'm seeing in here, folks, is again, similar to what we talked about earlier. There's some balsam fir in here that could be sawed out for dimensional lumber. You know, it's 10, 12 inches in diameter. There's not a lot of it, but there's enough here if you want to build your own cabin. I recently watched a video on a Alaskan bush camp, and you know, people say popple isn't a very good tree, but I'll tell you, it's got a lot of uses, and as long as you treat it right and protect it, I think it might make a pretty nice log cabin. The folks I saw on the Alaska Channel made a beautiful cabin out of poplar that they put water treatment on it, made some nice overhangs on their roof, keep the water off it, folks. It'll last a long time. Let's keep going. We're gonna walk up through here, show you a little more of the forest. Dense forest. As we're walking through here, this is a great place for a black bear to be found. Really thick stuff. Can't see more than 40 yards, mostly young spruce fir, a little bit of hemlock here and there, not much of that. Yeah, this is another wet spot. We're gonna head off here to the highlands. So the soils here are kind of rolling. You will get dry, then wet, then dry, then wet. It's kind of a cool lot though. Folks, I'm stopping here for a second just to stop sweating. It's only 68 degrees, but boy, it is humid here in the woods today. Between the rain coming down and the humidity, I want to complain. I got to tell you, I've spent a lot of time and searching out quality, supposedly breathable rain and water gear and waders and all that stuff. And after the last 20 years, I guess, of experimenting with Gore-Tex and dry tech and whatever you want to call it, I think it's all BS, folks. I think you start sweating, whether you're wearing a garbage bag or one of these expensive jackets, it's not gonna make a difference. If you've got a different experience, you got some quality piece of outdoor wear that you can recommend that I haven't already tried, I'd appreciate it in the comments below. But when it comes to work and outdoor gear, no magic bullet that I found. Folks, we're out here in the middle of the woods, and like I said, it's a good mushroom year. These are little tiny things. Here's a picture of my finger for reference. It's got to be somebody out here who knows what these are. But the color of this fungus is not natural. It's almost a neon green color. Hopefully that comes out in the video. If you know what these are, please let us know. Pretty cool stuff out here in the middle of the Maine woods. We've been wandering through the woods looking for this small wetland that we could see on the aerial photo. And I was just talking to my cameraman and saying we're getting close. And the reason I knew we were getting close, we started seeing popple that the beavers had chewed off. And we see their run that goes out into this little wetland that's probably half an acre, maybe 3/4 of an acre. But again, these kinds of areas bring in the game. There's deer tracks here, there's moose tracks here. were beaver here, but these beaver have probably eaten everything they could and moved on from the looks of things. We're going to keep going. We're on the southern boundary now, right on the, pretty much on the line, and we're going to head back to the road. Let's talk a little bit about our topography here in Greenbush at this property at 26 Wolf Run Trail. The stream on the far eastern side is at about 160 feet above sea level, and back here at the building site, we're about 210 feet roughly on this side of the property. So it's a very gentle slope over almost 2,500 feet across the lot that makes it really easy to operate. From a logging perspective, this is early successional forest. I would say there hasn't been any harvesting in here in at least 25 to 30 years, maybe more. There's some nice sized poplar and other trees. The soil type here is mostly scantic or some variation thereof, some other soils mixed in with it. That's a fairly rocky soil, stony, very stony. In some areas where it mixes with other types of soil, it'll be kind of wet. It's not great farm soil, folks. So if you're looking to make a big farm out of this, keep looking. Go find yourself some field, save you money. But as far as growing trees, it does very good for pine grows in here, spruce fir, poplars, birches, and other hardwoods. Your maples do well in this. And it's also very good for your wildlife. And there's some varying habitats in here, from the uplands where it's higher to places that are wetter, some of the stream side. Wolf Run Trail is right behind my pickup truck. We got over 700 feet of frontage along the trail on both sides of it. Here, the driveway comes in onto the lot for about 220, 30 feet to a pretty decent building site. This is 44.8 plus or minus acres. The land has been all surveyed. The survey is on record at the Registry of Deeds. We've got a back line that's pretty obvious here on the western side of the property. The northern boundary line is painted. The back line is out in the brook, which you're not going to get across. And the southern line, I've had a little trouble finding that. That one's a little sketchy, but I'm sure with a surveyor out here, you'd be able to locate it, and the pins. As we come up the driveway, you're going to notice a 24-foot camper in here that is, it's been here a long time. We'll show you the good, bad, and the ugly, folks. That camper has absolutely zero value. It is here. It's going to stay on the property. You're buying this as is, where it is. But you might be able to salvage the frame underneath it, maybe for a trailer use, tear the top off, salvage some of that metal. Maybe you can make yourself a nice winter ice shack or a deer hunting blind out of the spare parts of this baby. But no value there. We're not asking for anything for it. But we're going to leave it here. As we continue up the driveway, we've got a really nice open area here. There's probably a 1/10 of an acre. You certainly can open this up a lot more than it is. There's a fire ring up here, you'll see. This part of the property is on the far western side. We're pretty close to the property line, probably 150 feet away on the west side. But this would be the ideal building site for the property. This land is taxed under the tree growth tax program. There is an acre out for building, and we'll send you the map on that, and as well as the forest management plan, which is still in effect on the 10-year plan. If you got any questions about tree growth tax, the Ask Lifestyle Properties series I talked about earlier, we have a pretty in-depth video that explains that program, the advantages and disadvantages of it, and whether you would be a candidate to want to be in that program. So don't forget, check that out. What can you do here? Well, right now this is mostly in the tree growth tax program, so it's an ideal timber investment. You're probably halfway there to the next major harvest, although there's wood you could cut in here now that could be sold commercially. And it would do this lot quite a bit of good to thin it out, because it's really dense in places. Not all of it, but where it's dense in the fir thickets, I'd thin that out, help that grow a little bit better. Obviously hunting for white-tailed deer, black bear, rough grouse, woodcock. This is great woodcock country if you like following a couple German short-hair pointers out through the woods here in Maine. Jump shooting some woodcock could be a lot of fun. ATV trail riders, you could ride from Wolf Run Trail out on Bear Run all the way out to Springbridge Road, where you got ATV trail access from there. So you could ride there. This is not the trail, but you can get there from here. Fishing, if you like fishing, the Penobscot River is about 10 miles to the boat landing in Milford, right on Route 2. You'll see it here on the map. We'll show you where that is in relation to the property. Penobscot River is one of Maine's largest. In that section there, the smallmouth bass fishing is world class. So if you like fishing, you got that close by. There are a number of little trout streams in this area that you could visit. We also are in close proximity to what's called the Stud Mill Road. And for those who don't know what that is a private logging road that runs from US Route 2 all the way over to Route 1 on the coast of Maine. And it goes through about 1 million acres of forest land that's mostly used for commercial forestry practices. However, the landowners there, with some limitations, obviously they don't want you hunting and driving through an active logging operation, but most of those acres aren't going to be operated at any given time. You're free to hunt, fish, ride through there. They allow ATV trails on designated trails through there, as well as snowmobile trails. Beautiful part of Maine. Not as well known as the North Maine Woods, so it doesn't get nearly the traffic, but it's literally 30 minutes or less from Bangor out to the Stud Mill Road. And last but not least, we're also very nearby the Suncays Meadows National Wildlife Refuge, where there's improved hiking trails. There's areas that you can hunt in there. There's some streams that you can canoe. Beautiful part of the state. That Sunkay stream eventually runs down into the Penobscot River. But that's thousands of acres of conserved land, and it's just down the road here, about 10 to 15 minutes. Hey folks, thanks again for taking this tour with us and letting us get wet while you get to sit on your couch and stay dry. I hope you enjoyed the visit through the woods here at Lot 26 Wolf Run Trail in Greenbush, Maine. Let's wrap up with all the terms. The price on this property is $49,900. I think you'll find that's one of the best priced properties that hasn't had a clear cut done in the last 20 years in the state right now, or probably one of them. The taxes here are just over $300 a year, so very affordable. We're off-grid in here. We're on a rough road. It's passable. People do live in here year-round and have been plowing this road over the last few years. But it's rough enough it'll keep out the traffic. Unless you've got a reason to be here, you're probably not riding in on Wolf Run Trail. We've got mixed growth of timber in here. We've got some commercial-sized stuff that you could harvest now and let the rest grow. Hunting, fishing, hiking nearby, everything. Let's talk, folks. Give me a call, 207-794-6164 at the office. They'll put you in touch with me. Keep that in mind as we go through the tour of this property today.